TC Nation, welcome back to the show. This is Options Trading Concepts Live. My name is Mike. I'm here with Jermal, and we have a very special guest today.
A great one.
Davitt, head of index options content at the NASDAQ. Kevin, how you doing?
Very special. I'm feeling the love. I'm doing great. I timed this perfectly.
Yes, you did.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's been a wild day. I was talking to Jermal last night. I was at the driving range, had a little sushi after, pulled up the market, and I was like, oh, crude's up 20%. So we were chatting, and you're like, it's going to be so funny when this thing is reversed at the end of the day. I'm like, in my head, I was like, how could it be? How could it be?
You know this market, man. You know how crazy things are. First of all, what you said is really loaded, and it just reminded me. We're talking to a real golf guy right here. This dude right here knows his golf. I forgot. You guys are going to vibe on that.
I mean,
as I've just started to kind of get there. I've started to, but this dude definitely knows his golf. For sure.
I mean, I grew up around the game, but I'm not refined enough to like be the guy really talking golf. But yes, golf has played a significant role in my life.
So that's the guy who went to school on a golf scholarship.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah.
Annie Noonan.
Hey, I've yelled at my mom. I'm like, why didn't you make me do this? I probably could have
this is funny. Yeah.
Something similar. But,
yeah. It's been wild. I mean, dude, enough people hear from us all the time. What are you seeing here? What are you thinking about? What are you looking at?
I have to go back to your point about crude oil. Mm-hmm. So you look back at last week. So a week ago Sunday, you've kind of the original Iran headlines, and you get the start of a big crude move. What turned out to be over the course of the week, the biggest percentage move ever. That's a mouthful. And then last night to see it up another $25. From the audience's standpoint, I can't help but think about the outgrowth of smaller products. So I'm looking at markets last night, and let's say I have an opinion about crude oil. I have access to a micro future that I could potentially scale into against something else. The same ecosystem exists in the equities world. So I care about the NASDAQ 100, 9 to 5 for my work, and access to smaller futures, looking at the volumes in the MNQ relative to NQ, that speaks to a real appetite to an approachable notional product and the growth that we've seen over the past handful of years.
That's a good point. I really hadn't looked at that as much. It's funny you mentioned that. I noticed that briefly, I think on Friday, I was noticing kind of a difference between the micros and between the regular, but you're right. I mean, that shows you the appetite.
Well, you got a product, an underlying market that's moving around in an environment like this, 400, 500 handles, and a 20 multiplier on that big future is a very, very big move. Like just thinking about one lots, we're talking like silver moves 2 months ago and a 5,000 multiplier. That's a big product. But people want to be able to have a view in the overnight, trade that against other, let's say listed options products. And that growth in the past handful of years has been a benefit to, I would argue, your clientele.
Talk to me a little bit about correlation here. I mean, this is usually that environment, right?
Well, the overwhelming story for the better part of this year has been low correlation, high dispersion, where you see single name security vol high relative to the index. That has unwound in a very, very significant way over the past handful of days. So how does that play out? You see index vol moving up with greater velocity than the single name vol. The dispersion trade, which has become kind of a talking point and accessible in a lot of different ways to clients, has become a very, very big deal. And an environment like this is difficult to manage dispersion if you have it on the vanilla way. I was at a conference last week, where a really savvy institutional kind of fund investor was advocating for the other way, reverse dispersion, where you're long index vol versus short constituent.
Yeah.
And that expression would have worked very, very well the past handful of days. But the ability to sort of manage risk at a broader level. And I think the understanding on the part of clients like Tasty's continues to expand. And so that's super exciting. You got different tools. It's corny, but it's true.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that whole dispersion trade. I mean, people have talked about it, like you said, a lot more recently. I mean, I personally don't do it for the most part, but these are the times to do it. I mean, because again, index vol is up so much, and obviously that means that the constituents are going to be up that much higher. I would say this is the time to probably start to deploy it. It's nerve-wracking, it's scary, but I mean, this is the time where you want to do it because that index vol might drop, but the constituents are going to drop, X% more.
I think if you look at like what sectors are responding in this noise, right? And then think how that could be distilled through the lens of an index and what that might mean for option volatility, that is not beyond the scope of every one of your listeners. And even if it's just a thinking exercise of like, well, what do I think might play out? And you track that on paper trading, powerful practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this. I mean, we ask ourselves the question, how can this market stay in this range, this 250 point range in the E-minis and the NASDAQ as well? But to the point of the dispersion trade, like we come here every day, we look at what's moving within the NASDAQ 100, within the S&P 100, and it's been a similar story where you have this theme where like software stocks getting killed, they're leading the way to the downside. At the same time, you have your chip stocks rallying, and then 2 days later, it completely flips. But the net effect in the index is basically nothing. When you have the products within it going up and down, and then they flip, you see the individual equity name volatility, which is where the increase in vol comes from. But the net effect from the micro or the NASDAQ or the E-minis is ultimately not that much. And that's how we stay in this channel, even though day to day, if you're watching the markets, you see the volatility, but at the end of the week, we've gone nowhere.
Yeah,
it's like, that's it.
That's spot on. You could argue that last night, futures got to levels where that was certainly called into question. But this bounce back, it's sort of like a microcosm of what we saw last week too, where Sunday night you have a 1.5% weakness on the open, get it all back. Tuesday a sell-off where we bring it right back. I would be careful to say that this continues indefinitely. But the opportunity from a pure trading standpoint, I'm isolating between trading and investing here, not turning trades into investments. I think the opportunity is very ripe.
You guys seeing a whole lot of big activity with the introduction of Monday, Wednesday expirations?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you for asking. Well, just to be clear, these options are or have been listed across exchanges, but my colleagues at NASDAQ led the effort on the regulatory side to get that approved. What does it mean practically speaking for Tasty clients? Well, as of the beginning of February, we had our first expiry cycle for Monday and Wednesday expiring options on 8 mega cap securities. Names you would know, names that are broadly representative of the top of the NASDAQ 100, as well as the IBIT, so crypto, the biggest crypto ETF. Now, one really important point to make, and I think back to last week where we had Broadcom earnings, and they were on Wednesday after the close. Options will not be listed on a sort of known unknown date like that. So Avigo would not have had options expiring last Wednesday because it had earnings. What we have seen.
Wednesday?
I'm fairly sure.
Yeah. I don't remember. I just remember thinking it was the first time around that kind of thing existed, but
Yes.
I don't remember if it did or not.
Yep. So what are we seeing in terms of pickup? Really, really interesting sort of broad level data dynamics. And I brought a couple of colleagues with me from the office this morning that have helped clarify that and give the likes of you and exchanges insight. TLDR, if there is an option, a short dated option expiring, clients are looking for exposure to that. What do I mean by that? Whereas we used to see peaks in activity on weekly Fridays where volumes would be the highest, that has now shifted to Monday. When you include the Monday options, the Wednesday, and the Fridays, you see kind of another visual peak in terms of volumes on Wednesday, slight dip on Thursday, but net volumes across the board are up. But if you think about the names where these options are available, they have been the most active names for option traders for years. And so it makes a whole lot of sense. When you think about applying it, how many people look at like diagonals or calendar spreads?
We do.
And now you have countless permutations that didn't exist before. And so the early indications, and something I would expect will continue, is that people are finding really creative ways to sort of spread risk.
Absolutely. And I think this also will help a lot of savvy traders with risk management as well. Because like, let's say Apple's one of the products that has the Monday, Wednesday, Friday expirations. But let's say you like the rebound today, you're long Apple in some way, but you're like, let's protect myself through the next 2 days. It's very cost efficient to get 100 short deltas in there. Like you could buy a put for $100, where previously, if you had to go to the monthly or some other weekly cycle, the same option is $500, $600. So I think that dissuades people from protecting themselves if they have to do it over a longer period of time where it costs more to get that same delta, where now you've got every other day you have expirations and you can do it in a much cheaper way.
Totally agree. And I think about a higher vol product than Apple, like NVIDIA or Tesla. Mm-hmm. And then I also think about it through the lens of the change in behavior we've seen, where retail and institutional has access to daily expiring index products, and they have for years. And the take up there, the early chatter was arguably like there's no real use for this. There clearly is. People look to manage risk where it exists. And if that's short term and there's a tool there, people are finding ways to use that effectively.
I think that's become one of the more interesting things with weeklies. We know, I mean, first of all, we know there's a bunch of people that are always pulling at you. You know you got to get out of here. But before you do, I know you got this cool visual that you want to show about volatility risk. Can we pull that up, please? There we go. Talk to me about this.
Sure. How long you got?
I know you can talk about vol for a minute.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because when you said TLDR a second ago, they actually pulled that up as a ticker. He didn't mean that as a ticker.
Is that
he actually meant the TLDR.
We should reserve that with NASDAQ. TLDR.
Yeah, I know you saw it, right?
Laddered T-bill ETF.
Oh. All right. So I'll try to be relatively brief.
Hey, you take as long as you want. It's your time.
All right. Well, you know that we are sort of ingrained to think about the options market through the lens of volatility. And that has become increasingly accessible to the world. We have these measures. Point one that I would like to share with the audience is that VIX is not that only constant 30-day forward measure. The market and where people are looking to invest is increasingly, I would argue, skewed toward NASDAQ 100 names. And VXN is that methodology, that constant 30-day forward, but referencing NASDAQ 100 NDX index options. So I am fascinated by if we look at the relationship or the ratio, VXN minus VIX over VIX. And that moved from the widest spread, where there was the greatest premium in NDX options relative to S&P. It was like a 40% premium just a handful of months ago, down to very near even. And that's the arguably one takeaway. When that spread gets close to even or inverted, it tends to be very short-lived and panicky. So you look back at April of last year, right? You look back at the, what do we want to call it? The yen unwind. But that was a high correlation dispersion trade kind of imploding, short-lived. And that vol relationship was kind of a leading indicator. And so having a broader set of measures that might give you a lens by which to view how aggressive you might be in the market I think is valuable. And so just in the interest of time, that would be my long and the short of it. But we had, at least last night, we were at unusual levels in terms of both outright NASDAQ 100 volatility and that relationship relative to the S&Ps. And I think it can be informative to the sophisticated trader types that you cater to.
It's funny, I'm having trouble remembering what happened in February 2024. What happened?
That's probably, I would imagine, just a bad print would be my guess.
I thought
because
what happened there. I don't remember though.
Feb 24.
Getting old, dude. I'm starting to forget some of these vol
It all
reserves.
blends together.
You're supposed to help me on this one, Mike. You're supposed to know this one. I don't remember.
I don't think so. Yeah.
This is a great chart. It shows you the times where volatility is outsized and possibly some relief is around the corner.
Spread and risk where it makes sense.
Apparently, based on the robots' response, Feb 2024 was inflation data, reduced rate cut expectations. Dips occurred on Feb 1st, worst day of 2024 at the time.
I vaguely remember that. See, that's what happens.
Tech, specifically NVIDIA, led volatility.
Oh,
So there you go.
There you go.
I vaguely remember that, but
If you want to pull up VXN on the platform, you totally can. You just go, it's very similar to OVX. You have to go VXN:CGI and you can pull up the chart. I've got it pulled up here. But just for the tasty viewers out there, you can have this on your platform. You can put it in a watch list and check it every so often. But yeah, absolutely super informational. And it's always good to know the volatility of these products and where the spikes happen to give you that opportunity to trade it.
yeah, for sure. We're going to be seeing a lot more of you on here.
Sorry, guys. No, I'm super excited. Thank you for the opportunity. Exciting to time it on a day like this, but I look forward to talking to you more regularly.